Hello and welcome to Week 4. I'm Elizabeth Walker, your librarian at Spring Arbor University's White Library. I'm coming this week to talk with you about some hints and tips about researching this week for your Week 4 assignment. If you've had a chance to take a look at this yet, you've discovered that your assignment pertains to a particular scenario that you are supposed to answer 4 questions about. The scenario goes something like this. You are presented with a 27-year-old clinically male patient who comes to you stating that he is ready for the next step of gender reassignment surgery. So there's 4 things that you need to address with regard to this assignment. From the perspective of your degree concentration, you need to talk about what ethical issues may exist for yourself and for the patient, any unknowns that may exist, what the right thing is to do with regard to interventions pertinent to primary care, patient education, and/or patient health. And finally, what do you want to learn from this encounter? Now, in order to best answer this, not only will you need to draw on your week's material and your working knowledge, but you also need to do some library research with this. And you may be wondering to yourself, where in the world do I start for this? This seems more complex than some of the things we've been working on. And we're going to talk about some tips and tricks to doing the research for this project. Recall, if you will, your pre-orientation assignment that was posted in Blackboard, as well as the presentation given in orientation. If you need to review either set of these instructions and tips, you can still find the pre-orientation assignment posted in the announcements portion of Blackboard for this course, and the orientation presentation materials have been posted on the White Library website under Help, Tutorials, and then Course Guides. Look for MSN Orientation and you will find the various handouts posted there. I won't be re-reviewing those materials, but they are there for you to take a look, and please do contact me if you have questions about any of that information. It just won't be reviewed here in this video. So we're going to talk for a moment about search strategies, one of the things that was highlighted in the orientation presentation. And you may feel a little bit like this lady, completely confused and flustered, and that's why we're having this discussion this week, so hopefully you don't feel quite so much like her. We're going to consider for a moment your database choices for this topic, the issues that you're going to need to research, and finally some potential keyword combinations for you to give a shot to when you get to the databases. So when we think about this topic, you may say to yourself, well, the obvious choice is nursing, right? I mean, I am in a nursing degree program, but also consider that this particular idea also is going to involve an element perhaps of social work and maybe even counseling or psychology, because you're going to be dealing with things beyond just the physical medical. You may also need to be looking at the person's psyche and how you would want to address different issues pertaining to ethics with this person and in this clinical setting. So if you're not sure which angle to come at this from, I would suggest trying the Search Everything database. You might recall that the Search Everything database allows you to search across the majority of our collection at one time, giving you the opportunity to see a topic represented from multiple points of view. And you can either continue your search within Search Everything as you complete this assignment, or if you wish, once you start to identify which set of databases is helping you more, which topic, you can always switch over to the subject-specific databases if you wish to do so. So your requirements for this assignment are 3 major things. The first being, we need to develop a searching strategy. The second, get your favorite cup of coffee before you sit down. And if you're not a coffee drinker, just remember that the point is I want you to try to enjoy the process if you can. Look for any nugget of information that's going to help you inform yourself and help you to put together the pieces of maybe what your present thoughts are, what the research states, and be open to learning new perspectives and new research that happens to be out there regarding the topic. And finally, you're going to need some time and patience. And if at any point in time you're stuck, remember that the librarians are resources for you to rely on. So back when we talked about searching strategies, you may recall that I suggested that you have some kind of a list, whether it's the worksheet that was provided during orientation as a suggestion, or even just a sheet of paper that will help you to sit down and think through the different ideas that you're going to be covering. The first thing that I suggest you do is to write down the question or topic that you're going to be focused on. And when we take a look at that assignment, the underlying idea behind the whole thing is to take a look at transgender patients and ethical considerations for the nurse practitioner. So I'm going to take the main ideas then, and I'm going to consider what kinds of databases could be potential sources for me. So under databases, I've written nursing, social work, counseling and psychology, and everything, referring to the Search Everything database. Again, I'm suggesting that you begin with the Search Everything database to give yourself a broad perspective of the different approaches that are out there for this subject. Next, we're going to brainstorm some potential search terms, and you will want to split this up with a category for each main idea. So the first idea that we're going to talk about is the transgender patient. And we are going to take the word transgender and write that down. Then we're going to look at ethical considerations. So next I'm going to write ethics down. And then finally, I am going to look at nurse practitioner. For this sample, obviously I'm focusing on nurse practitioner, but if you are in the nurse educator or nurse management position, those may be other perspectives that you would want to substitute in its place. Now I'm going to stop and think about each one of these ideas and some different potential substitutions for words that I could use in the database. Recall the lesson that we had on truncation. That's going to come into play right now as we brainstorm these different keywords. So for the word transgender, of course, I can try searching the word transgender. I can also go to the abbreviation LGBT for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. You may have noticed, though, in research and articles that this acronym is taking on a lot of other additional letters at the end as more interest groups are added to this category. So in order to incorporate any ending that may come after that T, I've put an asterisk or a star, which is the Shift and 8 key on your keyboard. I'll also give you a little giveaway secret that I also discovered while playing with terms in EBSCO, that the term GLBT is also sometimes used in EBSCO. So I'm going to jot that down with the asterisk at the end for the same reason that we did the truncation on the one before. Next, I'm going to look at the ethics category, and I can look for the word ethic with a star. Again, this is so I pick up both ethic and ethics. I can look at Christian ethic with a star in quotation marks so that I'm searching it as a phrase. Or I can search the words Christian and ethic with a star separately. Or I could even look for moral with a star, so I can pick up moral, morals, morality, any variation that might be existing with that prefix. Finally, when I think about the term nurse practitioner, I can use several variations there as well. Nurse practitioner, of course, is one thing I can search, but so I can pick up as many things as possible at once, I'm going to do nurse practitioner with a star for practitioner, practitioners, and same thing with the advanced practice nurse abbreviation that you see on the screen. Finally, one other variation that we could try is the NP abbreviation, since that's also a common abbreviation that you may find in the research literature. Finally, I want to draw your attention to the fact that I've also put a category down there that says what's not working. And my suggestion for you is if in the process of researching this topic you come across databases that absolutely are not working for you, especially if you decide to focus in on subject-specific databases, this is a great place to write that down for yourself so that if you have to take a break and come back, when you have to start your search over again, you're not starting from scratch. You have an idea of where you've been. And as you continue through this process, remember that you'll want to leave space in each category so that you can write in nuggets of information you found. So if you decide to focus on a specific nursing database, up there under databases you can write down which ones you're trying. Under search terms, as you discover subjects and other words that are in the abstracts of the articles, you can jot those down too and add that to your mix. For this sample search, we're already in the Search Everything database. And what we're going to do is put in a couple of those different terms that we talked about using some of the truncation we just discussed and combining that with the Boolean operators to try to maximize your search results and minimize the number of times you have to redo your search. For example, in the first line, I'm going to use parentheses to tell the database which terms I'm telling it to use this one or this one or this one. For example, I'm going to tell it transgender, or, making sure I put or in all caps because that gives it the instruction that this is a Boolean operator and not a search term, LGBT star, or GLTB star, end parenthesis. On the next line, I'm going to tell the database Christian ethics. And on the last line, I am going to say nurse star practitioner star, end of quotation mark. Now I'm going to make sure that I have some limiters marked in here. You'll see that I have the full text box checked, I have the peer reviewed box checked, and I have the date 2010 to 2015 input, and now I'm going to click search. When I do this, I come back with a selection of articles. And now I can scroll through here and see whether or not these are the kinds of things that I wanted to use in my research. If in looking at this I say to myself, you know, this wasn't quite what I really was after, I can go back and I can refine my search. Since a lot of these are symposia and things of that nature, I'm going to want to probably go back and sort of regroup and see what I want to do next. Now I want to take a second look at my search terms and mess with these just a little bit and see if I can refine what I was doing. In doing so, I noticed that, take a look, I inverted the B and the T. And maybe this time what I want to do is put a hyphen where the S should be. I'm sorry, not a hyphen, an asterisk. And maybe I want to get rid of nurse practitioner. And instead of being so specific, let's see what any of the literature says about this combination. So when I click search this time, you'll notice that it retained my other limiters down here. But now I have 1,209 items to choose from. And if I take a look over here at some of the different ideas, you'll see that the ideas range from CINAHL, a nursing database, more CINAHL. And as I get down a little bit further, this one's OmniFile, a more general database. This one is coming out of a psychological database. So you can see that there are multiple points of view that are represented here. So what you'll want to do is come through here and take a look at these and see what is going to best assist you in answering the questions. If you want to narrow down from this 1,209, I might suggest to you that you scroll down and take a look at some of these other limiters. You may want to limit to specifically one language. In this case, there's only one represented, but if there was another set of languages here, you could limit to one language. If you wanted to be sure that you're looking at just information for the United States, you could click Show More and limit that way. You can even go to Subject, click Show More, and check mark some boxes to narrow things down to the portion that you think you want to look at. And if at any time you find that you narrow it too much, you can come and click the X's because those will appear up here, and all you have to do is click the X's to get rid of what you've added that you don't care for. I hope that you've found this tutorial to be helpful to you. If you have questions at any time, please do get in contact with us here at the library. We're always more than happy to help you out with any questions about research that you may have.